Hi everyone, it's me Lindsay with Equip Me OT, here today to talk about how to take a shower following back surgery or a back injury. This is going to be for those with thoracic or lumbar injuries. Cervical I have a different video for. So as you can see, I've got this brace on that is going to be covering thoracic and lumbar. It's a very common brace. You may only have one that covers the lumbar, but generally speaking, all of these tips will work for both of those recoveries. So let's go ahead and get started with what to do as you prepare for your shower. First things first, you want to make sure you have all your supplies with you when you get to the bathroom, especially if you're going to be doing this on your own. So I have my walker here. I have a nice lightweight towel, and I'll talk about that in a second about why we want to use those. I have my reacher, which is going to be your best friend throughout this recovery process because you cannot bend over. And I also have my favorite tub transfer bench. I'll step aside here so you can see it. A tub transfer bench is a great option for any sort of surgical recovery that allows you to get into these high threshold bathtubs so that you can take a shower comfortably from a seated position. I also have a few long handled tools I'm going to show you in the shower, but let's go ahead and get started with the very first step, removing your clothing. So the first things first, you're going to remove your pants most likely before you get into the shower. The shirt and brace are going to stay on. So go ahead and start with, depending on how well your balance is, if there's any impact, you're going to slowly pull your pants down one hand at a time because again, you don't want to twist. Reaching across your body is not permitted a lot of times. So you can go like this, slowly down, and if the pants fall to the floor, great. If not, you have options. You can use your reacher to kind of push your pants the rest of the way down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find your seat. And this is where having the seat that extends outside of the shower is really nice. Typically, I would tell people to leave their walker right here because you're going to need it again when you get out. But for the purpose of this video, so you have better visual, I'm going to go ahead and move my walker slightly out of the way. I'm going to finish removing my pants. If this had underwear on underneath as well, I'd be doing this with that too. And you can cross your legs, so you can use your feet if that's available to you. But again, you can see why I'm so glad I had my reacher with me. I wouldn't be able to do this safely without it. And you also want to make sure you remove the pants from the floor. I'm just going to set them out of view here. You do not want to leave anything on the floors. It can become a trip hazard or it can get wet because of the tub in the shower situation. So go ahead and move those out of the way. Now I'm going to put my reacher back. At this point, my bottom is completely exposed, so I'm going to go ahead and safely slide. When you slide on a tub transfer bench with your back brace on following surgery, again, you want to make sure you're keeping your shoulders, hips, knees, and feet all in one line. That will help you remember not to twist. Twisting can be very detrimental to the healing process. So I'm going to slide back, and then I'm going to pivot all together, keeping myself aligned. I'm going to lift my legs up here, and I'm going to keep sliding. I'm going to take my time. And now I'm in. At this point, what a lot of folks will do is they will have the water on. Your lower body is undressed, and if you have your shower head, which a handheld shower head mounted low for this type of function is going to be essential. So at this point, you can turn the water on from the seated position, or you could have had it on beforehand, getting it warmed up, because nobody likes getting into a cold shower. The key here is making sure you have a functional on-off, so that once the water is warm, you can actually turn it off at the shower head instead of having to reach up there or turn it on and off at the valve, because then the water has the potential to get cold again. So get it warm, turn this off, so now this is not running and getting you wet, so that you can take off your brace. When you take off the brace, 9 times out of 10, the surgeon is going to tell you you have to do this in a seated position. That's why I waited to do it until I was here. So from here, we're going to start removing the brace. One piece at a time, nice and slow. Again, I'm not going to cross my arms across my body. I'm going to try to keep them on their side. Just like that. So once the brace is removed, we're going to be very cognizant of the fact that we are at our greatest risk for accidentally injuring ourselves. So just be extra cautious. Don't try to stand up at this point. Again, why we took our pants off earlier. And we're going to put the brace someplace easy to get. For me, I would, again, have my walker close. Normally it would be much closer than it was. And you can even rest your brace on the walker, or sometimes people will set it off to the side on a small stool. I just don't want this to fall, so I'm gonna kind of try to rest it here a little precariously. But definitely have a plan for your brace. Let's see if it'll stay. There we go, okay. Now we have to remove our shirt. This is another spot we see accidental breaking of precautions. So you're going to gently, again, keeping your arms, a lot of times if it's a thoracic injury or a surgery, you can't actually lift your arms over your head. So this is where a really stretchy material comes in. You're gonna wanna remove. We're doing good here. And I'm not twisting, I'm simply reaching. And we're gonna remove, and then we're gonna go up and over. Just like that. At this point, I'm ready for my bathing, okay? So when you're doing your bathing, it's a pretty straightforward process from a seated position. Some people do have concerns about how to get their peri areas properly cleansed. And the good news is you can lean following removal of your brace for the most part. You just don't want to, again, twist. No bending forward, so that's where the long-handled tools are gonna come in. In addition to having all of your necessary implements, your soaps, your conditioners, your body washes, face washes, in a very close reach. This is a long-handled scrub brush with a scalp scrubber. So again, if you have limits, this one bends. So now I can get my favorite body wash on, and I can reach my back safely around an incision area, never wash directly over, and only use very, very gentle soaps near and around an open incision. That's very important. And I can wash around there. I can extend it again. I actually designed this tool myself, and the links to everything I show here will be down in the description because I had seen so many people go through this recovery. So with this, I can get my lower legs, I can get my feet, I can get all of that without breaking my back precautions. There are scenarios where a back brace has to remain on at all times. For example, we call them tortoiseshell braces, and those ones are made of predominantly plastic and are wipeable for drying. They often are difficult to get the back because you're still wearing a brace. These types of thin implements, this is a lotion applicator I developed that works really well for getting between a brace and your skin. So while I don't have my brace on, if I did, I could use something like this to actually get a little bit of cleansing down in between the tight spaces of a brace. That's an option as well. So now if I'm done with my bathing, I've rinsed myself off safely, and again, notice I'm keeping myself from bending. I'm keeping everything at eye height. Now I'm going to dry off. What's really nice to know here is that as long as you have your towel close, I strongly recommend turning everything off and drying off right here. Don't try to get out as dripping wet, because again, you want to keep yourself, you want to get your brace back on as soon as possible. So here I have, the most important thing is going with a lightweight, easy to manage towel. A lot of people want to do big, soft, fluffy towels, and the problem is they get quite heavy and cumbersome once they start to absorb water. Weight is not your friend right now. You need something light and easy to manage. So something a little thinner, maybe slightly smaller, even a microfiber towel that's really, really absorbent, and you can use it to get yourself really, really dry at this point. Dab, dry. Once you are thoroughly dry, if you have your shirt ready, you can put that on here. Now, not everyone's gonna do that. So sometimes what I have people do is put your brace back on with nothing else. It may feel a little awkward, but it's quite all right if you plan on dressing someplace else, but do not try to get up and out of the shower without your brace on. So now at this point, if I were to put my shirt back on, I could, or I can simply, now again, my brace and my walker are a little far away because of how we shot this video. Making sure I don't twist. These braces go on like a backpack. Yours may go on slightly differently. You gotta be very aware of how you're moving your body when you put this on as to not accidentally do a twisting motion. Oh boy. This is the hard part with this type, is they have these strings. Be patient with yourself. It can be tricky to find them again. Now that I'm all secure in my brace again, I can now get out of the shower. This is how I recommend most people do it. They tend to be a little frustrated by this, but I promise you it is worth the extra effort of putting the brace on before getting out because your risk of injury is so much lower. So now I can take my items, I can slide towards the edge, make sure my walker is close. I'm actually gonna, there's a lot of moving pieces to this, and I think some people underestimate how many things you're kind of trying to shift around with you while you get out and in of the shower because of all the clothing and the towels. Lift each leg, mind the twisting. And now we're out. And from here, I would continue to dry off. When you dry your lower legs and feet, again, remember you cannot bend. So that's when you take the towel in its long ways like this, and you're gonna kind of drop it down to the floor. And I like to put it under my feet. So you can do it behind your feet like this and kind of dab your feet off, but make sure your feet get really nice and dry because before you get up and walk or move around too much, you don't want wet feet causing a slip hazard. You can put this over your lap. Take your time. Getting dried off from here in the bathroom is your best bet because then when you get up to go get dressed, some people will get dressed right here from the edge of the tub bench. Others will go to the bedroom. Some will sit on their toilet. But whatever you decide to do, think about it ahead of time. All of that preparation will come in handy and make your life so much easier so you can have a comfortable, safe shower following back surgery. So there you have it. Hopefully you got some value out of this video. If you have questions or comments or need more information, please leave a comment down below or check the description for links on all the products I referenced. And if you need more information like this on how to stay safe and independent in your home and community, consider subscribing to Equip Me OT. Thank you.